Our investigation on medical checkups could save your life, and Jodie Foster lashes out at her brother's unauthorized biography. Inside Edition from New York is next.
She won't comment. She won't say, how could you have effing done that?
Hey, buddy, guess what? Your sister Jodie does have something to say about your tell-all book, and it's not full of brotherly love. Today, Jodie fires back.
Maybe it triggered something off in her emotionally. Maybe it's the first thing that's ever done that.
The blood tests are in. So which one of these men fathered this little boy?
I love him more than anything. He's my life. He is my life.
The answer only presents more questions. It's an undercover investigation that could save your life. When you go to the doctor for a checkup, are you being thoroughly checked out?
The basic minimum preventive exam was not done.
Our investigation found doctor after doctor failed to recommend critical tests. Did this wealthy businessman predict his own death? Cops say he did, and they've already charged someone, his wife.
Circumstantial evidence links directly to her and holds her accountable for the murder.
But there's one problem getting her to trial.
It's my happening, baby, and it freaks me out.
No, you're not having a passion flashback. As Austin Powers proves, the 60s are groovy again.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
Everybody, welcome to Inside Edition. I'm Deborah Norville. Yesterday, Buddy Foster gave us the lowdown on his sister Jodie in his new book, Foster Child. Well, now his Oscar-winning sister is having her turn, and she's telling a very different story. Scott Rappaport has our follow-up.
Jodie snapped and said, we don't have a normal family. We never will have a normal family. We didn't have a normal family, so get over it and grow up, buddy.
On our broadcast Monday, Buddy Foster revealed family secrets about his publicity-shy superstar sister from his new book, Foster Child.
What's the question you hear most about Jodie?
Is your sister a lesbian? Is the biggest.
Well, now Jodie Foster is firing back. In a statement appearing in USA Today, Jodie says the book consists of hazy recollections, fantasies. I certainly have never spoken to him about my personal life. I and my entire family consider him a distant acquaintance, motivated solely by greed and sour grapes. We caught up with Buddy Foster in New York, who was defiant in the wake of Jodie's allegations, particularly on the insinuation he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Maybe she's saying that because she doesn't want to say that there's truth in it. That's a way around it.
But in her statement, Jodie goes on to say, I love and treasure my family deeply, and it saddens me to think that our lives should be exploited and trivialized by some cheap cry for attention and money on Buddy's part.
Everybody has the right to their opinion, and everybody has the right to see life through the prisms of their own eyes. I just think we see things differently.
Jodie says that she has seen her brother Buddy only 15 times in the last 20 years, and even he admits that he last saw her more than 2 years ago. In the movie Father's Day, Billy Crystal and Robin Williams each believe that he is the father of the same boy. Well, last week we told you about two men in Michigan who are in the very same predicament. Well, Joel Lloyd tells us that the paternity test results are in, and it looks like Father's Day won't be any simpler.
I looked at the reports over and over. I just couldn't believe it. I thought there was a mistake. There's got to be some kind of mistake.
There'll be no Father's Day celebration for Daryl Fletcher, and there won't be any neckties for Brandon Ventimiglia either.
Felt like I was dying.
Monday, blood tests prove that neither man is the father of 2-year-old Daryl Scott.
Who is the father?
The truth is, I don't know.
Like in the flick Father's Day, the boy's mother had told each that he was the father, and when the baby's mother, India Scott, tried to move, Fletcher and Ventimiglia filed for custody.
But I love him more than anything. He's my life. He is my life, in fact. And I know his other father feels the same way.
A judge even granted both men temporary custody, and Daryl lived alternately with his two dads. But now that the daddy dilemma has taken a new turn, India Scott is seeking full custody.
This is an outrage that two strangers would take custody of a child who isn't even theirs.
But Fletcher and Ventimiglia will reportedly continue to fight for custody, or at least visitation rights. Meanwhile, with the identity of the biological father still in doubt, this bizarre story may well imitate another movie, Three Men and a Baby.
Good night, sweetheart. Good night.
Well, maybe we should make that 4 men and a baby. India Scott has gotten married. And according to her attorney, she doesn't know if this fella's the father either. Las Vegas police are looking for the killer of millionaire Ron Rudin. Cops believe that he was killed for his money. But as Tony Cox tells us, it looks as though Rudin may have helped lead police to their suspect.
Ron Rudin was not only rich, he was pretty smart.
Very. I would consider him very smart, especially business-wise.
So smart was the 64-year-old Las Vegas realtor that 6 years ago, police believe he predicted his own murder. In his trust, Rudin left explicit instructions in the event of his untimely death.
That says that should I die by violent means, for example, if I'm shot, that my successor trustee should investigate the true cause of my death. And if they determine that I was killed by any one of my beneficiaries, then to make sure that beneficiary doesn't get a share of my trust.
At least part of Rudin's startling concern came true. His $11 million estate was at the center, police say, of Rudin's brutal, violent death. In January 1995, here at Lake Mojave, south of Vegas, the burned skeletal remains of Ron Rudin were found by some local fishermen. He had been shot and decapitated. But Rudin didn't die here, police say. He was brought here probably weeks before, on the day he first disappeared, December 18th, 1994.
And we believe he was killed either on that day or the following day, the 19th of December. But his remains weren't located by the fishermen until the 21st day of January 1995, over a month later.
Rudin owned a string of commercial and residential real estate in the Las Vegas area. He had a beautiful wife, Margaret, and was an avid outdoorsman and gun collector. But someone wanted him dead.
It was devastating. You know, in my heart, I knew it all along, but I didn't want to face it.
The discovery of Ron Rudin's remains set in motion a remarkable 2-year investigation by Detective Jimmy Vaccaro and his partner Phil Ramos. And their efforts led to the suspect who only last month was formally charged, Rudin's wife, Margaret.
She has been indicted on murder with use of a deadly weapon.
Cops say the investigation revealed a violent and bizarre relationship in the Rudin household, including alleged wiretaps and extramarital affairs by both of them. But even with the indictment, there still can be no murder trial until Margaret Rudin is found. The 52-year-old antique dealer has been missing for weeks.
And you don't know where she might be? No, we believe she may still be in the States. We're hoping that she can be located here, brought back, and have a fair trial.
This is Margaret Rudin in January 1996 in court in connection with her husband's trust. She was taken to court by her husband's trustees to block her inheritance because of their suspicions that she was involved in his death.
And at some point in time, she thought that Mr. Rudin was going to divorce her and that she wasn't going to get anything out of the relationship that she had had for 7 years with him. And so she did him in.
The case ended in an out-of-court settlement with Margaret Rudin reportedly getting a fraction of her husband's formidable estate and without any decision on whether she was involved in Ron Rudin's murder. But Mrs. Rudin's troubles were far from over. 6 months later, in July 1996, a diver found the murder weapon, a .22 caliber pistol with a silencer, in shallow water near this marina at Lake Mead.
But what was really interesting in the irony of the whole thing was that the weapon was at one time owned by Ron Rudin.
So he was shot with his own gun?
That's right.
The individual who had access to that gun and would have been able to know the codes and get that gun would have been Margaret Rudin.
As you can see, this is the bedroom where we believe the murder occurred.
Detectives took us inside the Rudin house, under new ownership now, where evidence of the investigation was still present. These specially developed police photos, the highlights in blue, are traces of blood that was sprayed on the wall, added fuel to the theory Rudin's murder happened at home. And evidence like that has police confident that the person they believe murdered Ron Rudin will eventually be brought to justice, satisfying Rudin's final wish that every effort be made to find his suspected killer.
Do you think you'll find her?
Absolutely.
Margaret Rudin also goes by the names of Margaret Mason and Margaret Crafby. She's also charged with accessory to murder and illegally using an electronic listening device.
Still to come on Inside Edition. How does your doctor rate on our checkup checklist?
The more knowledge you have about what it is that the physician can and can't do, the better off you're going to be.
America's doctors have made great strides in treating and even preventing deadly diseases. But none of that matters if doctors fail to spot the problems in the first place. So, Inside Edition decided to go undercover to investigate just how well doctors are doing the basic medical procedure that everybody has, the medical checkup. As Mark Sauter reports, our findings are disturbing and surprising.
From Marcus Welby, MD, to the Andy Griffith Show, medical examinations have become a familiar part of American culture, a reassuring ritual that we've come to expect. Blood pressure, deep breathing, and the infamous scale.
Let's just see how tall you are.
It's all part of that medical tradition known as the checkup.
Just comes time to just check things out, that's all.
But our undercover investigation reveals that doctors across the country are failing to conduct thorough examinations.
Okay, so I don't need anything else. Okay.
The unfortunate consequence is that preventable disease is not being prevented. People are dying. People are not maximizing their potential.
Open wide.
So with the help of Dr. Paul Frame, a leading expert on checkups, and with guidance from the government and major medical organizations, we began researching what's really necessary in a checkup.
Or is it just about what she got, mildly elevated?
Surprisingly, some of the things we all expect are not really needed, like that tap on the knee to test your reflexes.
Okay.
It's a ritual. It's something that we've always done, so we feel we have to do it.
But here's what experts now agree should be part of a complete checkup. These procedures are for the patient who appears generally healthy. They're designed to identify and/or prevent illness.
I just want to make sure everything's okay with me.
Once we determined what procedures are recommended, we decided to find out whether doctors are really doing them. First, we randomly selected general practitioners, family physicians, and internists in 5 different states: New York, Connecticut, Texas, Colorado, and New Jersey.
I just thought it was about time to get a visit.
Then we asked 2 Inside Edition employees, a 50-year-old man and woman, to go get checkups. They told the doctors they were in generally good health and documented their appointments with a hidden camera.
In general, I think I'm pretty healthy.
They saw 20 physicians in all, and the results surprised even our experts. At office after office, the doctors failed to perform some of the most important procedures.
Your PSA will be higher just because.
We asked Dr. Frame to watch some of the exams and give us his expert opinion.
What's he doing now?
He's checking her blood pressure at the moment.
Because our report is about the medical profession as a whole, we're not identifying individual physicians, so we replace their voices but use their exact words.
Okay, your basic exam is normal. I mean, your blood pressure and pulse are fine. Your lungs are okay. There's no heart murmur. Your liver's not enlarged.
The most striking thing about his examination was the total omission of cancer screening.
This doctor and another, 2 out of 10, failed to check whether our female patient had recently had a mammogram and breast exam.
And that's significant. That's significant.
Because, as this American Cancer Society video shows, mammograms can be critical in detecting cancer.
She's got an irregular mass.
Both the doctors in our survey who did not check on mammograms also failed to recommend a colon cancer test, and they're not alone.
I really don't find a hell of a lot wrong with you.
12 of the 20 doctors we visited never offered a screening test for this deadly form of cancer.
Again, we're talking about one of the leading causes of cancer death, right behind lung cancer.
Some doctors even bungled one of the most basic procedures, testing blood pressure. More than a third of the physicians in our survey either failed to take a blood pressure reading at all, or in other cases, never followed up when the pressure was high.
It's a little bit high today, 160/90.
Not following up on hypertension is a major mistake.
Many of the doctors also had problems with the crucial parts of a checkup devoted to the patient's lifestyle.
Do you smoke? How much per day?
Although almost every doctor asked our employees if they smoked, at least half failed to do an adequate job of counseling our male smoker on how to quit.
That's the #1 preventable cause of death, so that's big, very big.
Surprised?
Disappointed.
And there were plenty of other disappointments, such as the lack of emphasis on diet and exercise. Then there's the fact that 13 of the 20 physicians never even asked if our patients had been immunized against tetanus, a rare but often fatal disease that can be prevented with a shot. Procedures like this may seem trivial to some people, but medical experts are convinced they're important.
What if someone were to say that you're nitpicking somehow on this?
Well, I'm nitpicking if that's the case with the things that are going to kill these folks and with the things that we know, at least to some degree, again, not a guarantee, that we can prevent.
In all, only one physician did everything on our list. And based upon Inside Edition's findings, Dr. Frame says 10 of the 20 physicians we visited failed to conduct an adequate checkup.
The basic minimum preventive exam was not done.
The patient was not served.
The patient was not served.
And he thinks many other doctors are making the same mistakes.
You went to a number of practices, so you have to assume that many omissions are fairly common.
So how can you make sure you're getting an adequate checkup? Start by doing your own research and asking questions once you're in the doctor's office.
So what does this mean? 165 is high?
The more knowledge you have about what it is that the physician can and can't do, the better off you're going to be.
Because when it comes to checkups, ignorance by doctor or patient is far from healthy.
Better checkups will save lives.
I believe so, yes.
But, of course, a checkup won't do a whole lot of good if you don't follow your doctor's advice. Now, if you'd like more information about medical checkups, visit our website at www.inside-edition.com, or you can phone us here at area 212-439-7119 to receive a recorded message.
Coming up on Inside Edition, he's mod. He's hip. He's an international man of mystery. But now Austin Powers' groovy style has made the fashion world sit up and take notice.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Made me tea. Made love to me. Put on the telly.
Production assistance for Inside Edition is provided by New OcuHist, the anti-itching, anti-redness, antihistamine eye drop from Visine.
Shake it to the left, shake it to the right. We're doing a hippie shake. Get up, get up, get up. Ow! That really hurt. Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
As Austin Powers' international man of mystery, Mike Myers is the groovy undercover film hero from the swinging 60s. But the surprise is that Austin may be the perfect man for the 90s. Here's Stacy Sweet.
It's my happening, baby, and it freaks me out. Yeah!
As Austin Powers' international man of mystery, Mike Myers is the grooviest secret agent ever.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
But the truth is, if Austin really did show up today, he'd be the coolest hipster around.
I think if Austin Powers walked into the Sky Bar in L.A. today, no one would bat an eye.
Yeah, baby!
If you look at the runways today, they're showing go-go boots and lots of leather. The film will sort of reinforce that idea that the 60s are still very much hip.
Great, baby!
The clothes that you see in the movie, those kind of boots he wears, those are out there. People are wearing them.
Yes, fashions that hit Carnaby Street in London 30 years ago have made a fashion comeback. So what does it take to be mod? Well, there's a checklist to help you on your trip.
Sex? Yes, please.
You have to have seen every Sean Connery movie in which he plays.
Bond.
James Bond.
Listen to early Beatles and Nancy Sinatra records.
Walk all over you.
And you must idolize 60s icons like Andy Warhol, Twiggy, and Julie Christie. You also need to talk in that 60s lingo.
That's just groovy, baby.
For the guy who wants to be mod, he's got to go buy skinny ties, pointy boots.
Randy.
A mod gal has to have go-go boots, a mini skirt, something in crazy colors, maybe a print that's kind of psychedelic.
Yes, the Mod Squad is back with Austin Powers as its newest, grooviest leader.
It's freedom, baby, yeah!
So far, the movie's grossed over $20 million. We'll be right back.
Next, Inside Edition. It's every parent's worst fear. A child in a life-threatening situation, trapped in a well.
More slack, a lot of slack.
Caught in a fire, or fallen through ice.
They're calling Ryan a miracle child because they didn't expect him to live.
What should you do if this happens to your child? And has Demi Moore lost her star power? After a few disappointing movies, how much is riding on her next film?
Find out tomorrow. That's it for today. See you then.